A flaming lake of fire. The sun's rays are shut out by thick, black cloud. Day becomes night, the air a poisonous miasma. This was 13 years ago. Saddam Hussein burned the oil fields of Kuwait to stop the advancing US army from taking them. The environmental and economic results were catastrophic. Oil isn't called black gold for nothing. The entire world economy is totally dependent on it, and for countries that drill it, it provides $1 billion income. 2/3 of the world's deposits lie in the region around the Persian Gulf. As the filling station of the world, Saudi Arabia has oil reserves totaling 260 billion barrels, or just under 5 trillion litres. Close behind in second place is Iraq. 113 billion barrels have already been found here, and experts believe there are at least 250 billion barrels flowing underneath the sands. Oil from the Kirkuk oil fields of Kurdistan is of high quality, and it's easily drilled as it sits not far beneath the surface. With just over 100 billion barrels each, the UAE, Kuwait and Iran. Large oil reserves are also found in nearby Russia, confirmed at 50 billion barrels, but experts believe the total could be 4 times this. At the beginning of the 70s, the OPEC countries used oil as a political weapon to voice their support for the Palestinians. The restriction of fuel was felt across Europe. Drivers had to leave their cars at home, and energy saving suddenly became the priority. In countries like Austria, schools introduced energy holidays. For months now, the American warhorse has marched on towards Iraq. A war seems inevitable, with massive implications for the world's oil market. Suppliers and consumers are nervous, says PVM, Austrian oil brokers. In America, the crisis in Venezuela has particular potential for disaster.
Es ist so, dass Venezuela ein Lieferant des amerikanischen Marktes ist, der einen sehr kurzen Lieferweg hat.
Venezuela is a US supplier that offers very quick delivery. It's very important to have the flexibility and convenience of a nearby source. It's clear that the situation would get worse if Iraq stopped supplying oil. No doubt about it. At the moment, this isn't the case. However, if both suppliers fail to deliver oil, 2 million barrels a day each, the oil surplus currently available on the market will be instantly exhausted. The present surplus is estimated at 3 million barrels. In Venezuela, protests and strikes starting in late 2002 have paralysed the oil industry. Oil barons are demanding the resignation of left-wing President Hugo Chavez. The US too campaigns openly for a regime change, and in April 2002, the CIA are alleged to have been involved in a military coup. Chavez vociferously opposed the US war in Afghanistan and is a known friend of Saddam Hussein. Venezuela is the 5th largest oil producer in the world and the 2nd largest supplier to the USA. America has an even closer eye on the world's leading oil producer, Saudi Arabia, and not only because King Fahd is old and ill. The ruling family has historically been a key ally of the USA. Bush's father came here a decade ago when US troops used Saudi Arabia as a launch pad during the First Gulf War. At that time, the Saudis were afraid of Saddam's expansionism. But 12 years of occupancy by US soldiers have supercharged anti-American feeling here. The US remains convinced Saudi is a hotbed of Islamic terrorists and is exasperated by the half-hearted effort the royal family is putting into fighting terrorism. Oil interests would be severely threatened if, following another Gulf War, Islamists rose up and created an Iranian-style Islamic government. The USA is urgently looking for new, alternative oil suppliers. Discussions have been held with Russia and Canada, and despite the anguished cry of environmentalists, the US is also looking to drill in Alaska. Bush has also sent negotiators to Africa's oil-producing countries. The oil fields of the Middle East are a sensitive political issue, and for Bush in particular. Whoever controls them automatically has a big voice in world affairs. Former CIA boss Woolsey famously stated, "We have to take the weapon of oil away from the Arabs." But what consequences will Bush's crusade have? Will we be faced once again with traffic jams, heating and petrol price hikes, and ultimately a recession?
Es wird davon abhängen, wie sich der Krieg.
It will depend on how the war evolves, whether the war spirals out of control, whether other countries will be involved, whether this is a conflict locally restricted to Iraq, and whether there are other areas of conflict, such as Venezuela for instance. If there are no other areas of conflict, and Venezuela is key here, oil price is not expected to rise a great deal. If other oil-producing countries remain stable, the price will come back down very quickly. However, if there is a widespread crisis which would have a serious effect on oil surplus, the oil price may remain at a higher level for some time. The price may be $40 US, but it could be any price. However, on basic facts, we safely assume that prices won't remain very high for very long.
Aufgrund der Fundamentaldaten nicht gerechtfertigt ist, dass die Preise hier sehr lange sehr hoch bleiben.
A lot hangs on inscrutable dictator Saddam Hussein. Will he make true his threats and defend to the gates of Baghdad? More worrying, will he use the chemical weapons Washington is so convinced he has piled up? Will the sun once again shine like the moon?